So you've heard rumblings of Mourinho taking the Portugal job next. You've heard rumors that he is Florentino Perez's ultimate goal. Well, I'm here to put my name and face on a prediction that Mourinho will indeed be Portugal's next coach and not Real Madrid's. Of course, as I always say, predictions shouldn't be taken too seriously. People who get upset about predictions really need to reassess things. But I've gone all the way back to 2004 to go over things Mourinho has said in regard to the national team management, how he has spoken of it in recent years as well, and reasons to believe that he won't continue with Benfica despite signing a contract until 2027. This will be similar to a previous video I did where I suspected Mourinho was looking to land a management job in Portugal. I was right, just a bit too early. I'm joking. I guess I was wrong. He ended up signing with Fenerbahce in the end, but he ended up in Portugal eventually, so I'll just accept a thumbs up rather than applause for that prediction. All right, let's get to his arrival at Benfica and why it's not really likely he'll stick around next season.
I always thought I would be back to Portugal, but I always thought I would come back to the national team.
So due to a stop-start beginning to the season, Benfica sacked Bruno Lage and brought in José Mourinho, who had himself recently been sacked by Fenerbahce due to losing to Benfica in Champions League qualifying. Still a funny line of thinking to replace your head coach with the guy that he eliminated in a competition, but anyway. A funny line of thinking, yes, but it's not as if Mourinho has been a disaster at Benfica. He's been good, not incredible, but good. He got us into the Champions League knockout phase with some major help from Trubin's incredibly unlikely heroics, and he is undefeated in the league. However, I'm sure you've seen that stat floating around that Mourinho is undefeated in the Portuguese league since taking over, and it is true. That's great, but when Mourinho took over, we were 4 points behind Porto. Now, however, Benfica is 7 points behind. At one time, we were 10 points off, but thank you, Sporting and Casa Pia, for your service and for making up for the millions of draws that Benfica have picked up in the league. Ay. Outside of the league, however, dropping out of both domestic cups in January wasn't great. Despite all of that, with the advancement in the Champions League, that helped Mourinho's standing and I think bought him some good faith, not just from Benfica supporters for how he dissected Real Madrid's back line, but Manuel Rui Costa, the club president as well. He's spoken in the last month or so about how Mourinho is a good coach and that his job isn't in danger. It's not being considered. This was after the double cup elimination, if I'm not mistaken. Which, by the way, gave us some classic Mourinho.
Desejo que os jogadores durmam tão bem quanto eu, ou seja, não dormirem. Era aquilo que eu lhes desejo. Não durmam como eu não vou dormir. E pensem muito como eu vou pensar.
Now, there's something to note about Mourinho's contract. It contains a summer 2026 break clause in that it allows both parties, those being Mourinho and Benfica, to decide whether or not they want to continue together. And if that answer is no, there's no penalty for either side. Mourinho was actually quite generous with this, as there are so many accusations of him just taking jobs so that he can get sacked and accept severance pay. Blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that. I believe he genuinely loves management and is still trying to prove that he's relevant in the game even today. He even said that he could make more money just from sitting at home from severance pay than from his wage at Benfica. And by the way, one of the quotes that I'll bring up from 2004 proves this, that he just loves the game too much to quit. The likelihood of him continuing at Benfica is not that high, however, and this break clause absolutely plays a role in that. Both parties were keeping their options open, giving themselves wiggle room. If we were to assume that Benfica doesn't win anything this season, then the dream of many Benfiquistas was, for a long time, has been for a long time, is to bring Ruben Amorim home. He's been a Benfiquista his whole life, as you can see from these images. There's a question of if Ruben Amorim would like this. Who knows? He may have ambitions to try another country, but even if you remove him from it all, there's the Real Madrid of it all. And Mourinho's stance on Real Madrid is incredibly difficult to understand. Look, I'll never claim to be somebody of very high intelligence, but I can't be the only one that found Mourinho's answer to questions surrounding a move to Real Madrid as really confusing.
Numa notícia de forma até não conto comigo para as telenovelas.
Don't count on me for soap operas. There are many good soap operas, but they take too long. Then you miss an episode or two and you lose track. Don't count on me. I don't watch soap operas. Okay, yeah. Is he saying that Real Madrid took too long to get back to offer him a job again, that they should have done that earlier, if it's true that Perez loves him so much and he keeps in touch with Mourinho. I mean, that's the best that I can do with that. Otherwise, for me, it's not the best Mourinhoism that I've seen. But maybe I'm just, not of a high enough intelligence for this one. Need to work on my speechcraft. But given Mourinho has also said this in the past, I think he could still be interested. Quote, "I'm surprised to see coaches who haven't achieved anything and don't have a resume training the biggest clubs in the world." Was this a shot at Real? I don't know. So if you were to compare his options next season of staying with Benfica or going with Real Madrid, if it is true that Perez does indeed see him as this ultimate goal, given he loves having big coaching returns like Zidane and Ancelotti, maybe he would go there. Hi there, alternate Adrian just checking in here quickly in light of something that happened very recently, just today, yesterday by the time this is published. So when Mourinho was asked if anyone could say no to Florentino Perez or Real Madrid, he replied with, quote, "Yes, you can. I can also do it," end quote. So I don't know, throwing more doubt on a return to Real Madrid, even though they can't stop talking about it in certain parts of the world. Things can always change quickly though. Things can change very, very quickly. He's saying one thing now. We'll see what happens by the end of the season. Stay at Benfica, leave to go to Real Madrid, go elsewhere maybe. Who knows? Either way you slice it, Amorim, Real Madrid, it seems like Mourinho will not be at Benfica next season, but I think he's due for Portugal next. And in fact, he's past due by his own calculations from 22 years ago, back in 2004.
I'm not one of the bottle. I think I'm a special one.
So after signing with Chelsea, Mourinho gave an interview to Portuguese publication Expresso in November of 2004. And in it, he spoke at length about his disagreements with Luís Filipe Scolari, Portugal's coach at the time, even saying things like, quote, "If one day I become a national team coach, I want to work and work hard. And there isn't much to do because coaching national teams is the easiest job in the world." Him and Scolari had a bit of a feud, as he believed that Scolari had a bias against Porto players, some of Mourinho's boys. But anyway, in this interview, when asked if he thinks about coaching the Portuguese national team, he said, quote, "Yes, between the ages of 50 and 55. I've already told my wife that I'll quit football after that." So José Mourinho is 63 years old now, so he's about 8 years late on taking up the national team. But here's the reasons why I think that this will be his next job. As mentioned, Mourinho is getting on now. He's 63 years old, so he's not, due to be in a geriatric home or anything, but he'll certainly know that he's almost at the end of his career's rope. With that in mind, he said in August of 2025, quote, "I've been away from Portugal since 2004, and I don't think my country would accept me coaching a team other than my own. My destiny, in terms of internationals, is to play in a World Cup with the Portuguese national team. I never considered coaching the Brazilian national team. My first experience has to be with Portugal, and then people have to understand that I'm a professional and that I can coach other teams, but always teams with which I have something that connects me. Brazil, obviously, because of the historical relationship between our countries. England, because it's my home. Italy, I worked there for several years. But my first experience with the national team has to be mine." Okay, so a very clear intent is there. Now we're just talking about timelines here. And speaking of being near the end of his career's rope, Roberto Martinez is nearing the end of his. Well, at least when it comes to Portugal, as his contract is up after the 2026 World Cup. He has been exceptionally mid. Not a complete disaster, but not exactly great either, besides in the Nations League. But Mourinho has always been a dream of the Portuguese Football Federation, and it seems like now is the time to strike. Back in December of 2024, when Mourinho was still with Fenerbahce, he had an interview with Italian publication Corriere dello Sport. I probably said that wrong, but they asked him about if he watches AS Roma, if he would coach in Serie A again, to which he said, quote, "I've never watched Roma play again, but I've watched Inter. I want to play a European Championship or a World Cup and unite a country around a team, as I have already done many times with the clubs. I want to do it for football and what this sport represents. It will be incredible. Now, there is an amazing opportunity at hand here for Mourinho to do exactly that, because who is co-hosting the World Cup in 2030? Portugal. So the man who can leave Benfica at the end of this season with no penalty to anyone, who has spoken about the Portuguese national team being his destiny, how it's his dream to have a nation rally around a national team that he is coaching at a European Championship and a World Cup, who is 63 now and nearing the end of his career. I mean, never say never, but he'll be 71 in the 2034 World Cup. Martinez's contract is coming to a close, so it's a clean break for Portugal. The man that they have wanted for a long time will be available, and better yet for Mourinho and Portugal, they can have him to oversee a World Cup that will be played on home soil. And coaching Portugal at a World Cup is his destiny, as he said. I mean, it feels like stars are aligning, it feels like it's inevitable, and if I'm wrong about it being his next job, fine, but I'm willing to bet that come 2030, when Portugal kicks off, José Mourinho will be in the technical area for them. Guys, pie in the sky, or do you agree with me? As always, thank you for watching. It's appreciated greatly, and I'll see you later this week for more videos. Later.